5 ingredients. That's all you need to make these delicious weeknight meals that I'm about to show you. Each of these are still packed full of flavor and your family is going to love them. Chicken teriyaki noodles is the first recipe we're going to start with. So I've got a head of broccoli here and I am chopping that up into bite-sized pieces, as well as I have one bunch of chives. I'm going to chop that up, and then once I finish that, I'm going to go over here to my hot skillet and I'm going to take about 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs and I'm going to cook those up. You can use a little bit of your teriyaki sauce for this. You can marinate these in that, or you can splash a little bit on when you're cooking it. Just make sure that you save enough for your noodles, so don't use a whole lot. This is the sauce I'm using. It is a thick teriyaki sauce, which is what you need, not a runny one. And then I have cooked 1 box of half-length spaghetti, as well as I did cook my broccoli a little bit. Really, you could just cook your broccoli once you put the sauce in and are letting it thicken up. That will probably cook your broccoli enough, but it just depends on how you want your broccoli. My sauce gets thick the way I like it. I'm going to add in my chives, and then I'm going to stir this up and just make sure that everything looks the way I want it, and that's it. This is ready to serve. This was so good. This gave my family leftovers, and it heated up nicely. We really enjoyed this recipe. Next, we are making cheesy taco rice. This was so good. So I've got 1 pound of hamburger meat here that I'm just going to finely chop up into little pieces. I'm going to cook it, and then once it's fully cooked, I'm going to strain it. Once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and add my taco seasoning to this, and I'm just going to use 1 packet of taco seasoning and follow the directions on the back of that. So I'm going to add my water in and cook this down until it thickens up into a nice sauce. We are going to be cooking everything in this one pan for this recipe, but once that is totally finished, I am going to be removing my hamburger meat from the pan. If you want to leave yours in there, you probably can, but I'm just going to go ahead and take mine out. And then I'm going to start working on the rice. So I'm going to do 3 cups of beef broth. I usually do my beef broth with bouillon cubes, so I wait till those cook down and melt, and then I'm going to add in my 3 cups of instant white rice that is uncooked, and I'm going to cook that until the rice is tender and fluffy. I did stir it a couple times just to make sure nothing was sticking or burning, because you don't want these to burn and get real super crunchy. Once that's finished cooking, I am going to add back in my taco meat to the pan, and I'm just going to stir everything up really well. Once I get that stirred up, I am going to add in my shredded cheese. Use whatever shredded cheese you want, just depending on your flavor preference, but I'm using taco blend, and this has taco seasoning in it, so it's going to give this some extra flavor as well. I didn't measure the cheese, I just gave it a good sprinkling over top, and then I gave everything a good mix and just let this melt down, and then that's it. This is ready to serve. Such a good, easy weeknight meal. It was kind of a comforting recipe. It was super delicious. It was super simple, and my family absolutely loved it. It gave us leftovers, which I also really enjoyed. Next, we are making smoked sausage Alfredo. This recipe was also delicious and simple. So I've got 2 packs of skinless smoked sausage here, and I'm just going to chop those up into coins. The thinner you chop them, the farther they go, but just chop them however you want. Once I finish that, I'm going to take a teaspoon of minced garlic and I'm going to put that into a skillet and just let that get a little bit fragrant. And then I'm going to take my smoked sausage and throw it in there with that and just saute them and get some char on them. I feel like that really brings out the flavor of the smoked sausages, but of course you don't have to do that. These are already fully cooked, so you can just throw them in towards the end and let them heat up if you want to do that as well. Not going to spend long on these though. It doesn't take long just to get a little bit of a char on them, and then once I get them the way I like them, I'm going to go ahead and add in my penne pasta, and I've got 1 box of that. It's fully cooked. I've also got 2 jars here of Alfredo sauce that I'm going to be pouring in. I just used the Walmart brand. You can use whatever brand is your favorite. I'm going to dump those in there, and I did just put a tiny bit of water in my jars just to shake out the rest of the sauce in there, but I did not use much because I don't want this to become watery. I'm going to mix that up once I do that. Make sure everything is really well coated, and then I'm going to add in some cheese to this as well. I'm going to use shredded Parmesan cheese. Monterey Jack would be good in this as well, or even just mozzarella cheese. but I'm going to just sprinkle that in there and let this heat up and melt. Didn't measure the cheese, I just gave a good coating over it. I did not use the full bag, but I just did as much as I thought looked good to the eye. And then once I did that, I just stirred everything up and let it melt really well. The cheese does also help make this a little bit thicker, so that works in your favor as well if yours is a little bit runnier. But once I get that stirred up and melted, this is ready to serve. This was super good. It was super quick, and my family loved it. This also gave us leftovers as well. That's why I used a whole box of pasta to eat on it a couple of nights. It also heated up perfectly whenever we reheated it. We loved it. For this last recipe, we are making a Biscuit Bubble-Up. For this, I used 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm also using Italian seasoning. I did not measure that. I just gave it a good sprinkling. You can use 1 pound if you want, but I wanted leftovers, so I did 2. I'm just coating my hamburger really good with the Italian seasoning, and then I'm going to cook it up. Mine is still just a little bit frozen in the middle, so I had to work around that, but it cooked up nicely. And then once I got that finished, I strained it and I put it back in the skillet. Next, I've got a jar of pasta sauce here. I'm using tomato, basil, garlic, but feel free to use whatever kind you want, and I'm going to dump the whole jar in there. You could use marinara sauce in this if you would rather do that as well, but I'm going to take some more Italian seasoning and just go over this a little bit with that just to add a little more flavor to this. And I'm just going to stir everything up really well. It doesn't really matter if you let it heat up or not because we're going to be putting this in the oven. I did preheat my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to cook this for about 25 to 30 minutes. But I've got my can of refrigerated biscuits here. I'm using the butter tasting kind. These are my favorite refrigerated biscuits. These are so good. But I'm just going to take these and chop them up into halves. And then once I do that, I'm going to chop those halves up into thirds. I believe there's about 8 biscuits in this can. Got the bigger can. So if you make 1 pound of ground beef, you may not need as many biscuits, or biscuits would be a good filler to help it go farther, so you could get the bigger can. It doesn't matter on that. But once I finish chopping these up, I have got my greased casserole dish, and I'm going to take my biscuits and just throw those in there. After I do that, I'm going to take my meat and my sauce, and I'm just going to pour this directly over top of those biscuits. And yes, this does cook up perfectly. I was a little bit worried that these would come out soggy and wouldn't cook right, but they actually cooked up perfectly. They tasted super good. So we're just going to take our spoon or whatever you've got and stir this up really well. You want to make sure that none of your biscuits are stuck together as best as you can, so that way they'll cook better, and just evenly distribute these out really well. Once we do that, we're going to kind of just press everything down evenly, gently. Don't smash your biscuits. And then I'm going to take my Italian style cheese and I'm going to sprinkle this over the top. I just wanted this to be covered really well, but I didn't overdo it on this. And then we're just going to bake this in the oven, and there it is. This was so good. My family absolutely loved these 5-ingredient dinners, and if you all try these, I hope your family does too. Make sure to let me know in the comments which one you plan to try, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!